Now, one of Germany's top research institutions, the Max Planck Society, is celebrated for its Nobel Prize winning breakthroughs. But behind closed doors, young scientists have been describing a much darker reality: allegations of abuse, of sexism and institutional silence. DW's investigative unit reveals how toxic power dynamics in elite research environments are upending careers and mental health.
At the time, it was miserable. Absolutely miserable.
Gabriel Lando is a former postdoctoral researcher at one of Germany's prestigious Max Planck Institutes. He came with high hopes, but instead faced abusive behavior.
It took me more than a year to heal from it, to stop dreaming about it.
For months, DW's investigative unit, together with German news magazine Der Spiegel, has looked into allegations of severe misconduct at several Max Planck Institutes. We interviewed more than 30 people from Max Planck Institutes across Germany. Many have experienced or witnessed abusive behavior. Gabriel is a theoretical computational physicist from Brazil. When he came to this institute in Dresden, he soon found the behavior of his director, Jan Michael Rost, increasingly alarming.
He's saying, like, you arrived here almost a year ago, you have done, can I say the words that he said? You have done shit. Like, you're not working at all, like you're useless. And he was hitting his table while he was doing that, and yelling at me at the point that I could see him like spitting.
Confronted with our findings, the Max Planck Society said Jan Michael Rost cannot confirm that he made the statements. This is not a unique case. At several institutes, we found reports of misconduct. Women say they were especially discriminated against.
I would be excluded from discussions about my project. Sometimes others would claim my work for theirs, and I just found that overstating your own contributions and minimizing the contributions of others was just common practice.
Her institute declined to comment on individual cases without further details, adding that management has not received any report regarding sexist behavior perpetrated by a director or group leader in the past 5 years. Many of the scientists we spoke to were afraid to report the problems. Gabriel is one of the few who tried. The Max Planck Society, which oversees 84 institutes, has several complaint mechanisms, including an external law firm. But when he reached out to them, asking for anonymity, he received a troubling reply.
But to be honest, at one point, persons involved in the conflict have to be named in one way or another to enable investigations.
We spoke to 9 people who tried to report misconduct through various avenues. None were successful. They said they were either discouraged, warned that it would affect their careers, or given the choice to accept the conditions or leave. Our findings suggest a systemic failure of accountability. The Max Planck Society denied discouraging people from reporting and referred to measures they enacted since 2019 to combat misconduct. Thomas Sattelberger is a former lawmaker in Germany's parliament. He has demanded accountability from the Max Planck Society through several parliamentary requests.
They need proper supervisory bodies, and these supervisory bodies must also be liable for misconduct, as is common in many other sectors of this society.
Gabriel has since left his former boss at the institute and is pursuing his career in South Korea.
I think that an aggressive environment where people are fighting for their ideas, it can be actually quite productive. But he was not fighting the science, he was fighting the person. He was humiliating me.
Out of all the people we spoke to, Gabriel was the only one willing to appear on camera. He hopes that by speaking out, he can improve things for others.
And we're joined now by Professor Daniel Leising, who chairs a commission on abuse of power among scientists. He's in Heidelberg, here in Germany. Welcome to DW. So we just heard these allegations of serious workplace bullying at the Max Planck Society. That's an organisation that receives billions of euros of government funding. How surprising are these allegations to you?
Not at all, because I've been hearing stuff like that for years now, and I'm not the only one hearing this. You know that there are quite a few initiatives that have grown in Germany over the years. For example, the Network Against Power Abuse in Academia, and I mean, it's no coincidence that all of these initiatives have grown in the recent years because the existing problem is just being more and more acknowledged. So it's not surprising at all.
So just one person went public with their accusations in our report. Why is it so difficult for victims to speak out, do you think?
Well, put briefly, because of the enormous power imbalance between those in charge. There are very few people who have basically all the power in their hands. And most other people in the system have basically no power or very little power. And if you file a complaint, well, you can expect the whole procedure to be quite a hassle. I know of cases where people go to one complaint office and then to another complaint office and then to yet another complaint office, and nobody's actually able to help because these offices have very little power too. They can do very little. And also, I hear about a lot of fear from many people that I've spoken to that it's going to damage their career if they complain. So if you complain, even if it's just well-meaning, if you're not intending to harm anybody, even if you just want to protect yourself from abuse or so, it might backfire and it might damage your career. And you have to keep in mind that this is a small world, right, where everybody knows everyone, and so quite often the abusive professors are fairly well connected with each other, and if you don't get along with a professor at one institution, and you file a complaint, that person might actually take effective action to make it impossible for you to get decent employment somewhere else in the same field, at least.
From what you're saying, it sounds like that this is a larger problem among scientific institutions here in Germany.
I would say so, and I'm pretty certain that this is not too specific for the Max Planck Society, right? There are other societies like Helmholtz and Fraunhofer and Leibniz, and they all have similar problems. Yeah, I think that's my response. And I work at a university. I've spoken to many people working at universities, and they also have the same problems. I think this steep power differential, this huge power imbalance, is probably the main problem that we have. And it's actually, frankly speaking, it's actually quite anachronistic, right? You don't have that strong a power imbalance in many other fields of employment.
Those organisations that you just listed there, they're very well known, they're very prestigious, and they have very good, very intelligent young people working for them. Can we talk about the effect that this kind of abuse, this kind of treatment has on young, ambitious scientists who are working in an extremely competitive environment?
Well, I want to say this is not a uniform thing, right? There are different kinds of power abuse. I think the probably most common thing is like sadistic, denigrating behavior, right? Exploitation, stealing ideas is quite common. But also you also have sexual harassment, of course, you have sexual coercion, all that goes on. And it's all not equal. It's also not equally severe in all the cases, right? Some cases are rather mild, but some cases are actually very drastic. And especially the drastic cases, and I know many of those, can be fairly traumatizing to people. So, I mean, apart from the obvious expectation that people get disillusioned and at some point are really fed up with science and really like lose their faith in science because they see all the lying and the manipulation that's going on. Apart from that, quite a few also actually end up in psychotherapy.
Sounds like an extremely serious situation. Thank you so much, Daniel Leising, psychology professor from the Technical University of Dresden. Thank you for your time.